The city of Tokyo is found on the island of Honshu, just one of over 6,800 islands that make up Japan, a small country off the east coast of the Asian mainland. With over 18,000 miles of coastline and a population of 126.5 million people, Japan is historically known for its flourishing maritime economy in addition to its post-World War II economic miracle, an event so profound that it inspired Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan, collectively referred to as the Four Asian Tigers, to begin the economic transformations that they are so well known for. Founded by Asian travelers on sea routes over 100,000 years ago, Japan would always rely on marine resources for the base of its economy. Even in recent history, Japan's most essential asset has been, without a doubt, its fishing industry. Surrounded by the Sea of Okhotsk, the Sea of Japan, the East China Sea, and the Pacific Ocean, Japan's coastal waters are home to over 2,000 varieties of fish, which make up over 10% of the world's saltwater species. Despite a severe economic collapse during World War II, Japan's economy returned to its pre-war prowess and saw incredible economic growth in the late 20th century. Japan's average GDP growth in the 1960s was 10%. Over the span of 3 years, the Tsukiji fish market in Tokyo sold nearly 1.3 billion pounds of fish, which produced 5.7 billion USD alone. However, starting in the 1980s, Japan would undergo a series of financial crises and recessions. The government fell into serious debt through bad loans to struggling banks, and the instability of the Japanese yen caused Japan's annual GDP growth to drop from 10% to 1 to 2%. Though the economy has become relatively stable since the economic drop-off, Japan still finds its economy on the decline, with its economic golden age far in the past. In terms of total GDP, Japan is currently ranked as third in the world. But in terms of GDP per capita, Japan ranks 29th in the world, placing it below all four Asian tigers. Japan places the many before the one, resulting in employees who collectively work some of the longest hours in the world. Nearly a fourth of all Japanese businesses have their employees work more than 80 hours of overtime per month. However, there are more pressing issues facing Japan. The country's total population is reducing its size, with Japan's current population of 127 million projected to drop below 88 million by 2065. This is Japan's population age graph next to a growing population. Japan's population age is very top-heavy, which could lead to it toppling over. Japan's GDP growth rate in 2018 was a mere 0.79%, a number that's tiny in front of the 3% growth rate that the Asian tigers collectively average. On top of all of this, Japan has the highest national debt in the world, at a whopping 234.18% of its GDP. The origin of these problems goes all the way back to post-World War II, when Japan created a series of asset bubbles in order to maintain price levels. Japan's industries would thrive for a few decades until the 1990s, when all of these bubbles collapsed at the same time, leading Japan's economy to collapse. With the crashing stock market and dropping equity prices, the government was forced to bail out dozens of banks and companies. Because these loans were never paid off, the government was forced to increase interest rates as well as implement higher taxation. At the height of their power around the late 1900s, all four Asian tigers had some form of a command economy, with their governments controlling industry, though South Korea and Taiwan have transitioned to democracy. Harvard's Robert Barro confirms this connection, writing in a report published in 1996, "Too much democracy tended to have a mildly harmful effect on growth. This does not bode well for hopes of Japan reaching Asian tiger status." But Japan is not going down without a fight. Japan is returning its focus to exports, a smart move considering that for every 1% Japan's economy grows, between 0.5 and 0.7% come from exports. In order to increase productivity on the local level, the country is taking steps to reduce working hours. Employees must now take 5 vacation days a year. To attack its impending labor crisis, Japan is opening its doors to foreigners. The number of foreign workers in Japan has nearly doubled in the last 4 years, and the Japanese passed legislation to bring in an additional 340,000 foreign workers in the next 5 years. Japan is optimistic about the wide implementation of robotics as another way to attack the labor shortages, a strategy in the 5.0 plan, set forth by the Japanese government. It divides Japanese history into 5 sections of progress and is integrating new technology for the 5th. It is believed that this technology can, in part, replace human labor, allowing for more efficiency. As it stands, Japan is not yet capable of claiming the title Asian Tiger. Although these various solutions may help Japan with its aging society and severe labor shortages, they are still in the red. However, if Japan is able to treat these problems, it could, perhaps, return to its post-war economic glory.